A basic principle of law in many common law countries is that laws by default do not bind the government. A result of this is that the government cannot be sued by an individual, and in particular, the government cannot be sued for laws that it chooses to make or not make. In an earlier case called Chisholm and Georgia, the Supreme Court had found that a state could be sued in the federal court by a citizen of another state, particularly on constitutional grounds. That led almost immediately to the 11th Amendment to the US Constitution, which removed from the federal courts jurisdiction to hear any action commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. The 11th Amendment, however, has a pretty big hole in it. It doesn't say anything about whether a state could be sued in the federal courts by a citizen of that same state. That was tested in Hance and Louisiana. Hance had purchased government bonds. Basically, he had loaned money to the government of Louisiana in return for a promise to pay back the money with interest. However, times were tough. They were heading into the Depression of the 1890s, and Louisiana passed legislation reserving the repayments for use in the state's normal spending. In other words, Louisiana passed legislation simply deciding not to pay its debts. Hance sued in the federal courts, and the Supreme Court considered the question of whether there was even jurisdiction to try the matter. They found that there was not, that the very concept of sovereignty meant that a state could not be sued by its own citizens. Justice Bradley for the majority said, "The obligations of a state rest for their performance upon its honour and good faith, and cannot be made the subjects of judicial cognizance unless the state consents to be sued. To deprive the legislature of the power of judging what the honour and safety of the state may require, even at the expense of a temporary failure to discharge the public debts, would be attended with greater evils than such failure can cause." Unfair though this may seem, states remain immune to suit to this day, except that citizens can sue states if the conduct of a state abrogates the protections guaranteed by the 14th Amendment.